Oh hey, welcome back to my channel. So do you ever feel like, while you support trans people and you want everyone to have equal rights, obviously, that some of your opinions you would just never say out loud because you may get labeled transphobic? Well, don't worry. Apparently I'm a transphobe too. And I'm a trans woman. So today we are responding to a bunch of people who seem to think that because I don't believe every single minute detail of their belief about trans people and about gender, that makes me transphobic, despite being trans myself. But first, oh my god, really good news. Okay, so you guys know I'm doing that speaking engagement in Chico, California on Thursday, November 21st. Well, the demand for that event was actually so high and you guys are so crazy that they actually decided to get a bigger venue. So this is going to be so fun. Come through. It's a free event. Link in the description. We're going to take pictures. We're going to hang out. We're going to do a Q&A. We're going to talk politics. We're going to do everything. Just come through. So it's not so much on YouTube, but if you guys follow me on any other social media platforms, which you should, then you would know that my comment sections and my replies are full of people calling me transphobic. Now, half of these people are not aware that I'm trans when they comment it, and then when I reply to them saying that I'm trans, they instantly block me and run away. But a lot of them do know, and think that just because I believe that 7-year-olds should not be going to doctor's appointments about how to stop their puberty, that biologically male athletes should not be able to steal championships and titles from biologically female athletes, that it's not transphobic if you don't want to date me, although it does mean you have bad taste. All that means that I must just hate trans people. So here's an article by someone named Rachel Ann Williams. The title is Trans People Can Be Transphobic Too. And can we address the picture of me that they used? I don't even know what this picture is from. Actually, I think I do. This is like a random event I did like at the beginning of the year. You know how far this person had to scour the internet to find this random obscure picture from an event that only had like 100 people there? And like what? And honestly, what's really funny is I didn't really have to go far to find a horrible picture of this person. I went straight to their profile picture. Tragic. It starts off by saying, "This might sound petty, but I recently retweeted infamous trans YouTuber Blaire White, and I called her a fascist transphobe. She replied to me, and her 200,000 followers descended upon me quickly." Yeah, this is someone who decided they wanted to tweet me some ridiculousness. And I like how they always play the victim when I respond. Like, people think they can really say whatever they want to me because it's the internet, and that if I reply, suddenly I'm the one bullying them because I have more followers than them. Where's the logic? Make it make sense. So this person just babbled in the entire article. Really nothing of it really made sense. Like, they criticized me for being a trans medicalist, which is me believing that being trans is a medical issue because that's exactly what it is. And just really mad that I don't think non-binary people are the same thing as trans. Too bad, too sad. Whatever. Blaire White literally thinks non-binary people don't exist. She's a transphobe. Okay. Like, honey, I'm very aware you guys exist. You're very loud. You make yourself known. No one's saying you don't exist. I'm just saying you're not the same thing as being trans, and that's okay. And that's not bad. Why do people only get upset when I say being trans is different than non-binary, but yet people can make all these other distinctions like pansexual is not the same thing as bisexual, and this sexual is slightly different than this sexuality, and this label is slightly different. Why does everyone get a different label, but I have to be labeled with this? Make it make sense. Blaire White, your hair extensions are crusty, and your internalized transphobia isn't cute. I wish you would stop being recommended on my YouTube, you true scum piece of So there's a lot to unpack here. The first being that my hair extensions probably cost more than your rent. Just being real. And the second thing is this internalized transphobia nonsense. I get this all the time too. This is that I secretly hate myself and that I have this internalized hatred for myself being trans, yada, yada, yada. And this one's always particularly hilarious to me because I feel like, I would have maybe not said this when I was a lot younger, maybe when I was a teenager and dealing with gender dysphoria and the struggle of being trans, but like where I'm at now at 26, and I feel like maybe people aren't used to hearing this and the narrative is so different and it's always about how being trans is so hard and I hate it so much and blah, blah, blah. I actually like that I'm trans. Don't get me wrong, there are cons and downsides as there are to any walk of life. However, you just come to a certain point in your life where you actually appreciate what makes you different and what makes you unique. And I feel like there's so many experiences in my life and things I've gotten to do and this channel in many ways and who I've gotten to meet and everything that wouldn't have happened if I was not trans, and I cannot imagine my life any other way. So I actually really love being trans, and if I hated it so much, I don't think I'd have a channel talking about trans issues all the time. And as far as me being recommended on your YouTube a lot, I mean, hi, now you're in my video. Was that a moment for you? Was it? Was it? This hoodie and more now available in my merch store. Link below. Blaire White is so full of Her internalized transphobia, again, makes me sick. What shocks me is that even the LGBTQ plus community supports her. And this is an excellent point that this person brought up. 90% of the people who accuse me of being transphobic are not trans. So honestly, yeah, a lot of LGBT people may not support me, but a lot do. I think more than people realize. She's so privileged and then invalidates trans people who can't afford the surgery she's had by saying they're not the same as her. They are literally the same. They just aren't rich and privileged. I'm literally gonna have an aneurysm. Invalidates trans people who can't afford the surgery they've had. When? When have I done that? Make it make sense. Oh, and privileged. Where? I mean, I know people don't really know a lot about my upbringing, but let me just say, I didn't grow up like dirt poor, but I did not grow up with money, honey. Literally every single thing I own and my transition, surgically and everything, was paid and funded for completely by me and the work that I do. I left the house at 18, have supported myself ever since then. My parents never gave me anything in my adulthood. My dad died when I was 19. I did not have a sugar daddy buying me breast implants like half the trans girls out here in LA. I did not have family helping me with surgeries in my transition. Hell, I didn't even have insurance. I paid for everything out of pocket based on the work that I do. Okay, can I rant? Can we really get into it right now? Because I feel my blood pressure rising a little bit. I feel things just kind of, heating up, and I want to go off. Okay, let's go. I think it's needless to say that it is completely and utterly idiotic to call a trans woman transphobic. Keep in mind, these are the same people who believe that Black people and people of color cannot be racist, that it's actually impossible for them to be. This is what they believe about that. So how can they believe simultaneously that I can be transphobic despite being trans? Make it make sense. But also, I understand that a lot of people maybe don't know how to take me. I feel like a lot of the times on this channel and on my social media, I'm presenting a sort of side to the trans topic that not many people are used to seeing. I don't talk about things in the way that every single other trans influencer in the world talks about. I don't talk about things in the way that every other trans activist you've ever seen talks about them. I am different. First of all, that should be okay to be different and think different things without suddenly being a hateful person. That's number one. But number two, in a lot of ways, the reason I talk about trans issues and LGBT issues in the way that I do, calling out people like Jessica and Eve and people who make us look terrible, and talking about the other side of young children transitioning, and talking about the trans athlete thing, is because I want to better the public image of trans people. Like, I literally am doing what a lot of trans activists do, just in a different way. Honestly, a lot of trans activists and people talking about this issue have literally no self-awareness of how they're viewed by the outside world. People who aren't trans, people who don't know trans people, who are maybe on the right, maybe Republicans, maybe conservatives. They have no idea how they are viewed. That a lot of the insanity that comes out of the community is not something that goes over well at all with them. For example, a lot of trans people took issue with the fact that I put Jessica and Eve on blast because they felt like I was putting more of a spotlight on negativity in the trans community, and that I was somehow attacking the trans community by calling Jessica and Eve out. No. What you fail to understand about that whole Jessica and Eve story, I know it's old, we're done talking about specifically that, but this is just more about overall everything, is that a lot of people were taking that story before I even touched it and running with it as an excuse to blanket the trans community in a negative light. And I took issue with that because I felt like I refused to be represented by a pedo. Like, that's not, what are we doing? I cannot even tell you the thousands of emails, thousands of comments that I got from people who had literally no understanding of trans people before that Jessica and Eve story. And when they saw my video calling it out and they realized that I'm trans calling it out, their perspective was changed 1000%. And suddenly they realized I shouldn't have painted an entire community with that brush. And this girl seems normal. This girl's cool. And that was what happened. Like, no, there are normal trans people out there who don't believe all these radical things. And why don't those trans people get a voice? There's so many people who talk about how every trans story needs to be heard and we have to listen to trans people and blah, blah, blah. And cool, that's great. But why is it only on your terms? Why is there one narrative? And if we don't follow it, then no, everyone should be heard but Blaire White. What are we doing? Honestly, my transition's over. I feel like I live a pretty comfortable life. I don't have to talk about trans issues. I could be doing makeup tutorials and any kind of BS on YouTube if I wanted to. However, I have thousands of people write to me every single day that they are so disgusted with the way that trans people are portrayed in the media, all because this is how trans activists and the more radical people on the end of the spectrum are dictating it be portrayed. And I'm going to be here to let you know that no matter how far you push this thing, there are normal, rational, level-headed trans people out there. Most of them do not run with all the crazy nonsense that you think, and it doesn't make them transphobes. Whew. When I tell you, that felt good. that rant was good for my soul, my spirit, my well-being, my mental health, everything. That is it for this video, you guys. But hold on, just wait a second. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Maybe you forgot. Maybe this is the third, fourth video you watched and you just forgot. Just hit the subscribe button so we can be best friends already. Follow my Twitter and my Instagram. If you want to really know who I am, you gotta follow those. It really goes down on Twitter and Instagram, especially Instagram. And until next time, I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.